Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Joseph from Screenbyte, and it's that time of year again. New flagships. That's right, we're throwing some new Android contenders into the mix, this time from Samsung and LG, in the form of the Galaxy S7 and the LG G5. Now, this is just a first impression video of the two products. We'll go ahead and start with the Galaxy S7. Design-wise, not much has changed. It's still rocking those sexy glass and aluminum frame. Just looks all around very pretty phone. The difference here, though, is now this phone is pretty much considered waterproof, and that's without having to put a flap over every the ports, which is pretty cool. On top of that, Samsung has decided in the US to switch from its Exynos processor to the Snapdragon 820, which is still a fantastic processor. We'll see how that plays out with everything, as well as 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, something that has changed is Samsung has listened. They've went ahead and added micro SD expansion back into the phone. However, not a removable battery, but they did increase the capacity to 3,000 milliamp hours, which is awesome. The camera on the back has changed a little bit. They've dropped the megapixels from 16 megapixels to 12 megapixels. So a slightly less megapixel range there, but that's not really important unless you're zooming in. But they did increase the pixel size. Which is going to allow more light into that f1.7 aperture. So all around, this phone is definitely shaping up to be a big beast. Now, I am a little disappointed that they didn't change design even a little bit. I mean, they did add the curved back from the Note 5, but I wanted to see something a little bit different from Samsung, especially since they are starting to fall out of the market a little bit. But all in all, it's shaping up to be a pretty darn good phone. Now, moving on to the G5, LG has switched things quite a bit this year. They ditched their buttons on the back to a more traditional approach with the volume rockers on the left-hand side of the phone. The power button is still on the back, but it also has an included fingerprint sensor, which is going to be pretty darn nice. Now, here's where things are really different. They went with an all-metal design, which is something that's very different for them considering their last few flagships have been all plastic or leather. It's pretty good looking phone if I do say so myself. Under the hood, it is rocking a Snapdragon 820, just like the S7. As well as also 4 gigabytes of RAM. They did lower the screen size from 5.5 inches to 5.3, I believe. And they integrated the tickler that was on the V10, except it's integrated directly into the screen itself, so they can have an always-on functionality if they wanted to, which is pretty darn cool. Now, the really wacky thing about this phone is that it's partially modular. In the bottom, there's a little button that you can actually unplug in and then pull out. That has a swappable 2800 milliamp hour battery, as well as some nifty new features. Now, LG doesn't have a whole lot showing off right now, but I can definitely see where they're going with this idea, where you can pop out the bottom, put in a bigger battery, for example, if you want to. They did announce a camera grip with it, so it adds some camera functionality to the phone itself. I'll get to that camera in just a second. As well as, I believe, an amp, which is actually really interesting because it can improve the headphone experience if you're listening on some higher quality headphones, which is pretty darn neat if I do say so myself. Now, the camera on the back is a 16 megapixel, I believe. There's two of them. One is a 16 megapixel. The other is a 8 megapixel. But here's the difference. The 16 megapixel is just standard camera. You just take your snap and shoot, take your photos. It's going to be great. And the 8 megapixel is actually an ultra wide. It's 130 degrees, I believe. And that's going to allow you to take for wider photos, things of that nature, which is actually really interesting because you can swap from within the camera software. Really cool. On the front, you have an 8 megapixel camera, wide angle, nothing too great here. Same thing that you've been seeing. It's going to be a great camera all around, though. But yeah, LG definitely switching some things up. I am digging the new design. It looks pretty darn good. I'm hoping that at some point I can get my hand on both of these phones and run them through their paces. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thank you again for watching. If you liked it, make sure to show it by hitting the like button down below, as well as if you really like the channel, feel free to subscribe. But I will see you in the next one.